Real combat. Real action. Carnage Media.
Now, Aaron, I got some questions for you here, bud. So what's it like always preparing for 3 rounds and every one of your fight has been done in the first round? Like, it's almost unsatisfying, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, it can be. I would say bittersweet for sure. The practices can get pretty rough, and it's like kind of disheartening when you're like, man, you kind of think in your head, I didn't need to prepare that hard, but then coach is right there to be like, no, yeah, dude, like that could have. You never know, man. You can't go in there with the mentality of I didn't need to prepare that hard. So they've been pretty good at keeping me in check. Like, no, we train like it's a pro fight, title fight, every fight, anything can happen. Be ready to work. So.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, because who knows? Maybe you would have been as sharp as you were if you wouldn't have trained that hard. You know what I mean?
Maybe it wouldn't have went that fast.
Exactly. So what have you done? I know we've kind of briefly talked about this, but what are you doing, not to prep for 3 rounds, but just to get ready for anything, I guess? Like, what does your daily training day kind of look like? Are you working kickboxing, working ground? Are you doing all that in the same day? You got to break it up. Like, what's your schedule looking like?
So, I mean, I'm a firm believer in, I don't plan it out perfectly every single time. When I hit the gym, also depending on like what guys are there, if I got a room full of good wrestlers, I'm like, today might be a good day to work on my wrestling. If I got a room full of good strikers, it might be a good day to work on kickboxing. But I would say I'm a grappler, but so I make it a focus to usually go in there and work on my hands, work on my striking, and then I usually always grab a bigger guy and get some grappling in and wrestling in. I don't not do anything. I don't make a day just jiu-jitsu or a day just striking. It's mixed martial arts, man. I got to work on all of it. And any gym time I get, because my work schedule is always crazy. So if I'm in the gym, man, I'm there for a while and I'm working on everything.
Awesome. Yeah. So you're saying that work is a little crazy. So does that play a factor on how often you can get to the gym, or you get to the gym pretty much regularly? It's just like at all different times of the day. Like,
so I work a 4 on 4 off swing shift. So basically 4 on 12. And then my 4 off is just 4 hard days. So it's 4 days of work and then 4 days of prep, 4 days of work, 4 days of prep is pretty much how I do it. And honestly, it seems to work out because in those 4 days off, my body's able to recover. And I feel like when I come back, when I did the 6 day a week thing, because I tried that for a while, I felt like since the practices were pretty intense that you'd come in too broke down and you just weren't wanting to work that hard. But when you go 4 on 4 off, that 4 on, you're on because you're like biting at the bit to get to practice and train. And I feel like I appreciate practice more, I guess is the way I should word it. So it makes me work harder and smarter. I focus on the details now.
Okay, that's good. So kind of leading into that, so with recovery, do you take recovery pretty serious? Is there like different things like ice baths or anything that you do for recovery?
I mean, I would say the one thing I suck at is my sleep, but no, I mean, I would say my diet, I make sure that's pretty well tracked, high protein, carbs in the morning, more protein towards the evening. As far as like specific like recovery things I do like Epsom salt baths, or I'll just have my fiance throw biofreeze on me. I've always been one, like I wrestled in high school and I coached wrestling, and pretty much it was, bite down, man. It don't hurt that bad. If it ain't broke, you're good. And even if it is broke, I've wrestled, broken, fought with broken bones. So, it don't bother me none, man.
You just rub some dirt on it.
Yeah, just bite your mouth guard. I mean, I got a few holes in some mouth guards, and you can always buy another.
Exactly. Awesome. That made me laugh, and I forgot what I was going to ask you. So your training partners, do you have like specific guys that you tend to look for like wrestling or striking?
Yeah, I will say that my main training partner is, I mean, everybody knows this, is Quentin Richards. Me and Quentin, I mean, when we hit the, sorry, my son's in the back, he's fussing a little bit. But I would say me and Quentin are like glue, man. Like, he's so well rounded. I feel like I don't need like too many different guys when I have Quentin, but I do have like, guys like when I go to Demolition and train versus Black Market and train, like me and Braden do good wrestling. I get lucky and get to train with Dylan sometimes and do some wrestling. I guess Jeremy Balboa, Rex Hoffel, he's a good guy. There's a lot of good guys at Black Market for grappling. But yeah, I mean, there's some specific guys, but I would say me and Quentin's my main training partner, through and through. He keeps me in check, and I feel like he's leveled me up tenfold, and I've helped him with wrestling, and he's brought my jiu-jitsu and striking up. So I would say Quentin is my main guy for everything.
And speaking of Quentin, is Quentin kind of like, would you say he's kind of like your mentor when it's coming to MMA? I guess not just specific like jiu-jitsu or something like that. Is he kind of like your mentor since, the guy, like you said, is well-rounded, 5-0 pro fighter?
Yeah, I would. I guess I wouldn't call him my mentor. I would look at Quentin as more like my brother. You know what I mean? Like, I consider like Gary and Justin Flemings, like those were my mentors. Those are the guys where it's like you walk in and they're kind of like that father figure where they're like, they hold you accountable and stuff. But I feel like Quentin is the guy that's like, sometimes your dad says something to you and you're like, it just doesn't quite resonate. But when you hear it from your brother, you're like, all right, man, like that makes sense. I should get my head out of my ass. You know what I mean? I would say he's more like an older brother figure in that aspect of like, I think I'm older than him, but he's more mature in MMA years. So, yeah, I would look at him more like an older brother, more guidance than mentor.
Okay. All right. Now, is there anyone that you kind of shaped your fighting style after? Is like, whether it's someone that you train with, whether it's a pro guy from the UFC, is there anyone that, you've kind of looked at like, I want to try to mimic? Because, I mean, as a fighter, I feel like that's good to sometimes mimic these people and then you take it in, you make it your own. But do you have anything like that?
Yeah, I've been asked this before, and it kind of made me think. Not really. I would say growing up, I loved watching George St. Pierre, and I would say like I'm really wrestling heavy, so obviously I can see similarities, not comparing myself to George, but if I would compare myself to like Cowboy, where it's just kind of like anyone, anytime, anywhere, bite the mouth guard, let's get bloody type of attitude. It hasn't always worked out that way. And, live by the sword, die by the sword. I've been dropped too, you know what I mean? Just because I want to get out there and sling hands. But I feel like his mentality of just like, I don't care who it is, just throw me in there. I would say more like that Cowboy mentality.
That's pretty cool. I love me some Cowboy, so it's just one of them down fighters that's just loves to fight and just loves to get in there and perform.
Yeah.
So, Aaron, for the viewers that don't really know you, how'd you get into MMA?
So I would say I've been into MMA almost my whole life, like since I was probably like 7 or 8 years old. And I always wanted to fight. We actually used to have a gym. I'm from Paulding, and there was a gym in my hometown, but my mom was like, absolutely not. That's how I got into wrestling. So I started wrestling, and then I coached for a little bit, and one of the kids came up to me and was like, hey, you should come to jiu-jitsu practice with us sometime. And I'm like, all right, man, just because you guys want me to, I will. And I'm like, oh, you're an MMA gym too, which was Black Market. And they're like, yeah, we do MMA. And I'm like, I've always wanted to fight. And Justin was like, well, let's see what you got. Come to practice. So I started training, and I'm like, man, this is just fun. I don't even care if I fight. And then, the more I train, they're like, I think if you want to get in there, man, you can. And I was like, I never thought I'd actually get to fight. My mom pretty much was like, don't do that crap. It's bad for you. And I just kind of wrote it off like, well, I'm just the wrestler, and I'll coach and see what happens. But as soon as I hit that gym and finally got to, start sparring, hitting mitts, I was like, yeah, we're going to go ahead and take a fight and see what happens.
So how was that first fight and those emotions? Like, what did you feel?
It was, it's really weird. I feel like I felt the same with like big wrestling matches when I was in, high school and stuff. When you get to those big tournaments, it's kind of, you get that jitter. Anybody that tells you they're not, they don't have emotions, they're not nervous or scared, dude, you're lying. I don't care. I don't care if I know I can beat the dude. I'm still like, I'm nervous. anything can happen. And I think it's important because it keeps you sharp. But yeah, I would say I was pretty nervous, very excited, but yeah. But as soon as you hit the cage, it just drains away. It's so weird. And you're walking out, you're like, oh shit, what am I gonna do? As soon as the cage door shuts, you're like, I know what I'm gonna do. I'm just gonna bite down and let it happen.
Yep. For me, I was always nervous until like that first, because I wrestled too, and it was like, let me get that first shot off, get a little scramble in there, and then I was good to go. I was locked in.
Yeah, once the straps came up, man, my feet hit the mat. I was like, no, you know what? I'm all right. I've been here a million times. I don't know why, and it's crazy. You're like, why am I nervous? I do this all the time.
I know.
And you can't shake it until it starts, and then you're like, I'm good.
Yep.
It's funny.
Yeah, at that point, nothing else matters. It's just you and that opponent. I mean, it was locked in a cage. Let's do this. I get that. I understand that. So what is throughout let's put it all together. Training camp, the fight, everything. What is your favorite part about MMA? Like, what is it that just gets you going, that makes you every time go back to that gym? Because we know we've got some up days and some bad days. What is it that keeps you going back into that gym to get ready for another fight?
I would say, and it's going to be super cliche, is it's absolutely my family. I'm a firm believer in, be ready for anything at all time. And I have 2 boys, and I want them to both feel the same way. I didn't start training to fight. I just started training so that way I'd be, a capable dad. I wasn't a dad at the time, but I wanted to be a capable boyfriend, now fiance, husband, all that. And it just translated to, okay, I'm capable, and now I'm up there with those guys. Let's just start fighting. And they drive me to just, you can't take days off. You need to be better. There's always something. There's always somebody that can beat you or teach you something. So I would say just trying to be the most capable, husband, father that I could possibly be, as a male, as a role model to my boys and to anybody that, decides to look up to me. I feel like I owe it to them, especially, growing up, I didn't have anybody, that pushed me into fighting or, being like, I shouldn't say masculine, but just that really capable, person. And I want my boys to look at me and go, you know what? Dad's right. He showed us. I didn't just say it. A lot of guys, how they are. They're just like, oh, yeah. You used to get in bar fights when I was younger, learn how to throw hands. I see red. It's all good. I'm like, no, you can go back on YouTube and watch them if you want, man. Like, I showed up. You can do it. And I'm showing you through, my career that it's possible.
Now, if your boys want to get into fighting, are you going to train them and allow them to?
Don't ask me, ask their mom. But if you're just asking me, I would say I won't ever stop my boys from doing whatever they want to do. If they want to be in the marching band, be the best damn trumpet player you can.
Yeah, exactly.
I can't lie and say if you ask me, I want to wrestle or fight, I won't get a little extra excited. But I mean, if it's something they want to do and I feel like their heart's in it, yeah. If I feel like they're just doing it because I did it, I probably won't let them. But if I can see it in the gym, and you can see it, I mean, you guys have wrestled and fought and all that stuff. When a guy's there to be there, or what you call a Facebook fighter.
Yeah.
So if I feel like they just want to do it because I did, then no. But if they really want it and they're showing me, then absolutely, I got no problem with it. Okay.
Good. All right. I like that. That's sound advice for anybody and any parent doing that. So now let me ask you this. What's your wife's thoughts on you fighting all the time? Does she take it she's a big supporter? Does she like to go watch, or is she one of those people that are, I'm going to watch, but through my fingers kind of a person?
Yeah. In about 2 months we'll be wife. She's fiance now. She's my biggest supporter. I genuinely couldn't do it without her because the help that she provides me with the boys and the house and just mentally and emotionally what she does for me. I could not fight without her. If I hadn't met her, I wouldn't be here on this podcast today talking about a title fight. No chance. So first off, I'll put that out there. But I would say, yeah, she supports me. I don't know. I guess I never really asked her if she hides her. I don't think she does, though, because in one of my fights, that one in Kentucky, my last fight in Kentucky, you can hear her screaming as I'm like elevating the guy and putting him down. So I know she's off that chair yelling. She ain't got her eyes closed at all. But yeah, I mean, I'm sure she gets nervous, but she tells me all the time, this is your passion. You love doing it. Until that changes, she's got my back on anything I do. So
that's great. So the wise saying was like you're only as good as the woman you choose to be with for your life. For your fights that you have done, what fight have you learned the most or has taught you a valuable lesson?
Without a doubt, was my second fight ever against Randy Myers. First off, that dude's a stud, and I won't ever take that away from him. But I learned that that was when I had that 11 fight, fiasco where like people just kept pulling out, and he had it too. So this is no excuse. But I took that long like break between fights, and then I took the fight with him. I didn't know anything about him. He didn't know anything about me. And I learned really quick, dude, if you ain't staying active in that gym, it's going to be a bad day. That dude was staying active, working hard. And, I was kind of like, well, he's, this is going to be another fight that pulls out. I'm getting kind of pissed off at this point. And, he showed up. He was ready to fight. I was kind of half-assed in it. And, he made me pay for it. And I learned real quick, like, dude, you better show up ready to work every time. Because I ain't never feeling this again. And I promise you, I won't. Like, it ain't ever happening again.
For sure. Is there any point in your career so far that you almost just walked away from competing at all?
Yeah, I mean, I would say before my second fight, I mean, it took so long to get another one, and it was just fight after fight. And I mean, even Gary was like, dude, this is ridiculous. Like, people just kept pulling out. It's not that I wanted to quit. I was just like, I don't think you guys are going to get me another fight. Like, I don't think it's going to happen. And there's like rules. So it's like, I can only fight certain people that want to know, and these guys that are like 3 or 4-0 don't want to fight me because there's no point. They're not going to get a whole lot out of it. And so I'm kind of like stuck in limbo here. And I genuinely thought, I was like, dude, I don't think it's ever going to happen. And by the time it does, I'm going to be like 30 years old and I haven't trained in 4 years and it's going to be pointless.
Yeah, for sure. So I know you're only about to be 5 fights into your amateur career, but what is your projection of 4-year career? How many more fights you want to do amateur, or do you plan on going pro at some point?
I obviously the end goal is pro. I don't, I like amateur, and you can learn a lot. I'm not in a rush to go pro, but I would say in the next, couple 3 fights, if the coaches agree and they think I'm ready, I think I'm ready. Yeah, I would probably go pro here sooner than later. I'm 28, man. I don't have a whole lot of time to sit here in the amateur, role. And if I feel like I should stay amateur, I probably shouldn't keep fighting. There's no point. If you're not trying to move up, some young dude that wants to move up is going to come flatline me. You know what I mean? So, yeah, I want to keep moving forward. I'm not trying to stay amateur forever, just until they feel like I'm ready to fight pro.
Right on. Okay. Well, we want to thank you for taking some time out. It looks like you had some family time that we took away from you, so we apologize.
Oh, you're good, man. We went to dinner, and then I was like, I got to go out to the car real quick. We were all leaving, so it worked out perfect.
Well, we want to thank you for joining us. We want to give you an opportunity to do any shout-outs, any sponsors, anybody like that.
I'll say, first off, shout out to my fiance. She's amazing. Without her, I couldn't do it. Quentin Richards, main training partner, love him to death. And then, Black Market, Justin Flemons, my head coach, and then Gary and Demo. Without all these guys, I wouldn't be able to do this. So I don't have any sponsors. I do this on my own dime, man. I'll wait to get sponsored.
Well, you know what? I just thought of this. Hold on. I should have done this earlier. Hold on.
Uh-oh.
I should have done this earlier. Would you like a glimpse?
Oh, shit.
At the 170 belt right here.
Man, that looks like it's just about my waist size.
Yeah. So, right here, I should have brought this out. I didn't even think about it, guys. I apologize. I should have brought this out when you guys are both here. But right here is what you're fighting for. got
Yep.
right here.
Yeah, that'll come home with me.
Well, again, I want to thank you for joining us, and I guess we'll see you August 23rd.
Absolutely, man. Hey, thank you guys for having me on. I appreciate it.
Yeah, we'll
Thanks,
catch you
top
there. Say goodbye.